More African countries are announcing visa-free travel for Africans. Togo recently did it, and the Republic of Congo says it plans to follow next year. But around the same time, an immigration lawyer says she landed in Togo expecting to enter using her Ghanaian ECOWAS passport. She was instead told to enter using her American passport.
I was in the country for African Union conference, which the immigration officials were aware of because I provided them with an event invitation letter, which stated my purpose for the visit. So I felt it was an insult to force me to, number one, enter Africa as an American when I'm African.
Because it turns out visa-free doesn't always mean friction-free. And it raises a much bigger question. Why is moving across Africa still so difficult for Africans? So this ticket costs almost $800. And with no direct flights available, the trip it pays for can take up to 20 hours. It's for a flight from Lagos to Kinshasa. A similar trip from Singapore to Bangkok can cost a third of that with no layover. And that's despite Lagos being one of Africa's biggest commercial hubs and Kinshasa the capital of one of the most resource-rich countries on the continent, the Democratic Republic of Congo. In other cities, it's worse. But cost isn't the only frustration. Sometimes moving across Africa can feel easier for foreigners than for Africans themselves.
I was traveling with a woman who is half Dutch, and they gave her an easier time with her Dutch passport than they gave me with my Ugandan passport.
And it's not just in the air that travel is difficult. Take Europe, for example. A truck driver can cross multiple countries without stopping once at a border. But here in Africa, movement breaks constantly. Immigration, customs, security checks, another checkpoint a few kilometers away, the same papers inspected again and again. To understand why borders work like this today, you have to look at how they were created and how they are managed now. African borders haven't always been there. European colonial states carved them up in 1884 at the Berlin Conference. One line split the Ebe ethnic group between Ghana and Togo, another scattered Somalis across 5 countries. It helps explain why some borders feel unnatural over here. So look, traveling around Africa is a rewarding experience, but it can be very difficult indeed.
If you're traveling within the East African community, if you're traveling within SADC, if you're traveling within ECOWAS, it's going to be easier to travel within specific economic regions. Crossing regions is also often very difficult and extremely expensive. We know that air travel within Europe is very, very cheap compared to within Africa.
Now, African leaders say they want to make this movement easier, at least on paper.
We want Africans not to need a visa to go to any African country. Trading means moving goods and people.
Since 2019, members of the AU are also part of the African Continental Free Trade Area, which aims to facilitate trade across countries. But that agreement does not include full free movement of people. Togo itself is part of the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS. So citizens of ECOWAS countries are supposed to be able to travel here without a visa. But like Channel discovered, even when the rules say movement should be easy, what happens at the border can still slow everything down. Trucks, goods, and cargo are still taxed, inspected, and processed, making cross-border travel anything but smooth. The problem is border agencies aren't sharing information, and countries are not properly enforcing cross-border deals. On top of that, it's often easier for governments to collect taxes at the border. So even if you're just crossing as a person, you're moving on the same roads and checkpoints built around goods.
When you don't have information and you don't have technology to make the information easier to access and easier to keep and understand, you do struggle.
And the same problem appears in African air travel too. Airlines negotiate separate permissions, taxes, and fees across different states. So you often can't fly directly between countries, even if they're close by. Instead, many passengers are routed through distant hubs before reaching their destination. And when flights are limited or cancelled, the costs don't disappear. With fewer passengers traveling these routes, airlines recover those costs from a smaller pool of travelers. You see, on the road, states make money from goods, cargo, and trucks using it. In the air, They make money from the taxes and fees built into your ticket. The African Airlines Association says taxes, fees, and charges constitute a significant portion of the cost of air travel in Africa. Remember Jessica's $850 flights from Dakar to Cotonou? It's not expensive because it's far. It's expensive because these taxes, fees, and fragmented airspaces all raise the cost of flying. So why does it stay like this?
Governments are left to depend on taxes where activity is visible. In economies where so much happens in the informal sector, this means an overdependence on taxing what they can, where they can see the activity. This does unfortunately mean an over-reliance on both the taxation of where people move or where goods are moved between countries.
This means that building a borderless Africa isn't just about removing visas or opening borders.